Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Look, if your head is spinning from the sheer number of AI models dropping literally every single week, trust me, you're definitely not alone. It's a lot to keep up with. Choosing a large language model is, well, it's no longer just a fun little technical experiment for the engineering team. It's actually a foundational business decision, and it comes with massive financial implications. So today, we're going to walk through a highly structured, data-driven playbook that will completely transform how you evaluate and select the right AI models for your specific needs. Okay, let's dive into this. Why are we talking about this so urgently? Well, because the margin for error right now is incredibly high. If you choose the wrong model, you could literally end up overpaying by up to 10 times for a simple task that a much smaller, way cheaper model could have handled perfectly. But on the flip side, if you cheap out and underinvest, you risk shipping a product that just completely falls apart the second users throw complex queries at it. It's a serious, high-stakes balancing act, and getting it right, that requires a really sharp strategy. So here's our step-by-step buyer's journey for today. We'll be looking at strategy over hype, defining your constraints, the 2026 model landscape, matched model to use case, and finally, some pro tips for production. Let's get into it. Starting with phase one, strategy over hype. LLM selection has definitely evolved way past just playing around in a sandbox. This perfectly captures that core cost versus value dilemma every organization is wrestling with right now. Because, if you just default to the absolute biggest, most famous model for every single workflow, you're going to see a massive financial drain on simple repetitive tasks, things like basic data extraction. It's like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. But if you go the other route and cheap out across the board, those complex reasoning workflows are going to fail. You'll frustrate your users, damage your brand, the whole shebang. So you really have to thread the needle between those two extremes. That takes us to step two, defining your constraints. You have to do this before you ever even glance at a benchmark score. According to the 2026 playbook, there are 7 crucial dimensions you've got to evaluate. First is use case fit, like does the model excel at coding or is it better for multilingual chat? Second is performance. And by that, I mean looking way beyond those standard generic AI tests and actually testing on your own data. Third is the knowledge cutoff, which is obviously critical if you're in a time-sensitive domain. Fourth is the context window. And here, don't just get blinded by raw maximum tokens. You've got to evaluate the effective retrieval quality at the actual length you operate at. Fifth is customizability, so things like fine-tuning or connecting your own databases. Sixth is cost. And please, remember to calculate hidden costs like retries, human reviews, and failed runs, not just that sticker price for tokens. And finally, governance. Compliance standards like HIPAA or GDPR, those are usually non-negotiable and just as vital as the raw cost. So once you have those constraints mapped out, the best move is to run a bake-off. Just to be clear, don't try to test every single model on the market. You'll be there forever. Just take 2 or 3 strong candidate models that fit your criteria and put them up against 10 to 20 real tasks from your actual workflow. Do this before you commit to anything, because real-world evaluations on your own data are going to tell you infinitely more than some generic leaderboard ever could. All right, moving to step 3, the 2026 model landscape. The market right now is, frankly, pretty chaotic, but we can organize it neatly into 3 distinct buckets. Bucket number 1, the frontier models. These are your massive, proprietary API models. You've got OpenAI with GPT 5.6 Sol, which is just fantastic for creative generation and really complex agentic workflows. It's like having a high-end general-purpose copilot. Then there's Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.7. This one really shines for safety-critical tasks and has incredible coding abilities, supporting up to a 1 million token context window. And from Google, we've got Gemini 3.1 Pro. This beast boasts the largest context window at 1 to 2 million tokens and is amazing at multimodal tasks, meaning it can handle text, image, audio, and video all simultaneously. Our second bucket is the cost-efficient and specialist models. This right here is where you save that 10x markup. Take DeepSeek V4 Flash, for example. It is 10 to 30 times cheaper than those frontier models we just talked about, but it still maintains really strong math and coding capabilities for high-volume work. Google's Gemini 3.5 Flash is another highly budget-friendly option for general stuff like summarization. And then you have Microsoft's 5.4. It's a smaller 14 billion parameter model, but it is incredibly efficient and absolutely perfect for mobile or edge deployment where you need really low latency. And the third bucket is the open weight and self-hosted models. These are absolutely vital when you need 100% control over your data. Meta's Llama 3.3 gives you near top-tier performance, but you can fully self-host it, making it the go-to for regulated industries that need on-prem solutions. Minimax M3 is highly rated for privacy and customization. And we're also seeing specialized regional models like Sarvam 15B, which is heavily India-focused and provides just incredibly strong regional language support. Okay, step 4, match model to use case. Let's put this framework into practice and look at some real-world industry matches. Now, what's really interesting about this comparison is how starkly different the requirements are. Look at healthcare versus IT and software dev. Healthcare requires strict HIPAA compliance, data residency, the whole 9 yards. A pure API model just won't cut it because of data privacy laws. You really need a self-hosted model like Llama 3.3, fine-tuned on clinical data. But on the flip side, IT and software dev, they demand crazy high coding accuracy and complex agentic workflows. For them, privacy might be slightly less of a roadblock than pure capability, making those frontier models like GPT 5.6, Sol, or Claude Opus 4.7 the undisputed champions. Let's look at finance and legal next. Both of these fields demand incredible, uncompromising accuracy, but actually in slightly different ways. Finance requires FINRA and SEC compliance, audit trails, and absolutely zero hallucination when it comes to numbers. Legal, meanwhile, relies heavily on precedent-based reasoning and highly precise citation accuracy. For both of these super risk-averse domains, the Claude family, specifically Claude 4 for finance and Claude Opus 4.7 for legal, is pretty much the dominant choice right now because of their structured, rule-following outputs. And moving on to education and customer support. Education benefits massively from multimodal models like Gemini 3.1 Pro for mixed media personalized tutoring, or Sarvam 105B for regional languages. Customer support, though, that is all about volume, speed, and cost. Contact centers absolutely win by using a routing stack. Basically, you take a cheap budget model like Gemini 3.5 Flash to handle the simple stuff, and you dynamically route the complex, escalated queries up to a quality tier model like Claude Sonnet 4.6. It's a game changer. Which brings us to our final phase, step 5, pro tips for production. I really want to highlight this quote directly from the source material. Route intelligently. Use a cheap model for simple tasks and reserve frontier models for complex reasoning. Let's be real, this isn't just a tip. This is the core production philosophy every successful business needs to adopt today. You literally only use a massive long context model when you actually need it. So how do you put that into practice? Well, here are 4 quick, actionable pro tips. First, the highest performing teams don't rely on just one model. They usually use 3 to 5 in total, a nice mix of coding, multimodal, and cost-efficient options. Second, rerun your evaluations quarterly, because let's face it, models and prices change so fast. Third, measure your total cost. Factor in latency and the time humans spend reviewing the output, not just the token price. And fourth, keep your prompts modular. This is absolutely crucial. Separate your prompts from the provider-specific code. That way, when a better model comes out next month, you can easily swap it in without rewriting your entire app. So the real big takeaway here is that you have to reframe your adoption strategy. It is a continuous evaluation loop. Capabilities and prices are shifting every single quarter. The organizations that are actually winning with LLMs treat this as an ongoing dynamic process, definitely not a one-time set-it-and-forget-it purchase. There is no single best LLM out there, guys. There's only the best fit for your specific constraints on any given day. And that brings us to the end of our explainer on the 2026 LLM selection playbook. But before you go, I want to leave you with a provocative question to take back to your teams. Which LLM are you currently using for your primary use case, and what is the biggest challenge you are facing in model selection today? Is it cost? Is it compliance? Or is it just trying to keep up with the crazy pace of change? Apply this playbook, define those constraints, and let's keep the conversation going. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.